everybody. Keith Engel here for TGI Sports Talk's College Football Huddle. We welcome everybody in tonight. We got a lot to talk about. We'll have Jim Beringer in at maybe 7:30, to talk a little bit about last week's games, this week's big games. Have I even spelled out this week's big games? I have. I want to welcome everybody watching tonight on TGI Sports Talk, of course, on Northeast Streaming Sports, on Let's Talk Sports. I think we're on Zodiac tonight, and you can catch us. Listen, like and share the show. Share it with your friends. We've had a lot of new viewers recently, a lot of new people watching in the groups that I share to. You'll be able to watch it on all the Facebook groups, sports groups that I belong to, the college football groups I belong to. Thank you to them as well, because they give me a lot of support. So we'll welcome you all in tonight. And hello to our own, probably won't see this, but want to keep Dan Harris from Let's Talk Sports, formerly from Let's Talk Sports. He stepped away, as we know, but let's keep Dan Harris in our thoughts and prayers, as I have promised him he will be part of this show forever. So anyway, got a lot to talk about. I got a lot of questions, man. You know, a lot of things going on. Notre Dame can't count. Ryan Day goes off on Lou Holtz and other people about, Ohio State not being tough. Well, are they tough? Great game-winning drive, but are they really tough? Texas defense comes up big. Bama rebounds, big win for Florida State. Florida State probably with the best two wins of any, combination of wins of anybody, I think, so far. We'll get into all last week's stuff. Get some takeaways from there. Get the news of the day. Look at next week's games. And we'll see what else we can talk about. And of course, your topics as well. Good evening, Dave Guyette. Big game for Syracuse this weekend, Dave, hosting Clemson. Clemson may be down. Syracuse is 4-0. Clemson may be down, but it's always a big game when they come into town. So good luck to Syracuse this weekend. And Anthony Price, good evening. How are you tonight? Anthony, if you're one of the two remaining survivors in the NFL pool, congratulations. I have no clue who's left. I'm guessing Bill Pulver went out last weekend, but that's just a guess. Oh, that's still you, Anthony. So anybody who joins us tonight, obviously, bring your topics and your comments. We'll get into some scores. I'm going to go through the scoreboard a little bit from last week. When Jim Beringer comes on, we'll kind of get his take on last week's action. Maybe I'll get his take on some of the takes I come up with before we come up with before he joins us. And then we'll look at some of the big games with him coming up this week. Notre Dame at Duke. Huge game coming up. Huge. Let's look at the top scores from last week. Get some takeaways from these games. By the way, Mel Tucker today officially fired by Michigan State. We may look a little bit at some of the candidates to replace him full-time, including Mark D'Antonio, by the way, their former coach who Mel Tucker replaced. And they wrote it up good, firing him for cause. They wanted to make sure that they laid it on thick, and they did. Last week's games in the top 25, as we know, Ohio State with a rousing last-minute drive. Some dispute about whether there should have been a second on the clock if you're a gambler at the end. But nice drive. McCord, who didn't have a great night, leads that drive, shows some moxie in my mind. Notre Dame, as you know by now, had 10 men on the field on the winning touchdown. The missing guy would have been right in the hole where he ran. Not sure I'm buying Marcus Freeman's explanation that he thought it was better to take the penalty or not take the penalty. They didn't have any timeouts. Didn't want to take a penalty and give him 6 inches. But he thought it was better to play with 10 guys, especially. And then they run right where the guy's missing. They're trying to get defensive linemen on the field. Bad look for Notre Dame. Bad look for the coaching staff. Admit your mistake and move on. Notre Dame showed me some stuff here. I mean, it was a good football game. And then there's Ryan Day after the game ripping it. It's nice to see Ryan Day emotional. But, did this game prove to me that Ohio State's tough? Look, great last drive. Why are you running sweeps on 4th and 1? You should have cost yourself the game. Tough teams just pound out a yard. God. Anthony thinks South Carolina will knock Tennessee out of the poll. Possible. It's possible. We'll get into that game. South Carolina is so hard to predict, Anthony. Spencer Rattler is so up and down. They don't beat good teams. Tennessee may not be a good team, though. We'll see in the results here. Let's just recap these games quickly, and we'll talk some more about last week's takeaways and get into this week's games as well. Miami 41-7 over Temple. I'm going to go around the conferences a little bit if we have some time later, too. We're starting to get into the point where some of the teams have played 3 games in some cases, conference games. Others are still getting started and ramped up. But Miami, 4-0 overall, 1-0, I think, in the ACC. Miami, Duke, Florida State, North Carolina, maybe in charge. Duke runs the table. Duke and Florida State's going to be a huge game. Duke could win this conference. Duke could be a playoff contender. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Georgia wins 49-21 over UAB and Trent Dilfer. Nice win for Georgia. Georgia is the number 1 team. Another topic to kind of jump into tonight if you want. Is Georgia the best team right now in the country? Or are they just the number 1 ranked team? Hard to tell. They're number 1 in my mind until they lose. I've already gone on record as saying that I think that they will three-peat. Told somebody changes my mind. Michigan with Jim Harbaugh back on the sideline. Big celebrations. Nice game for Corum with 2 touchdowns. A so-so game for McCarthy, but they beat Rutgers 31-7. No surprise there. Rutgers whippings in the Big Ten will start. Texas with a nice defensive performance, 38-6 over reeling Baylor team. Dave Aranda may be in trouble there. Aranda may be in trouble there. Texas, though, showing some defense. Some teams that don't play defense. I didn't give that as a takeaway from the Ohio State game. Great defensive effort by Ohio State. Ripped for their defense in the last several seasons. Great job by them Saturday night. Florida State, as we said, beats Clemson 31-24 in overtime. Some mistakes on the Clemson sidelines. A lot of coaching faux pas this weekend. Dabo Sweeney, did say after the game the coaches have got to do a better job. In overtime, they gave him a pass run option on 4th and 1. But on the sideline, he's kind of throwing his quarterback under the bus. Holding up 1, like I need a 1 yard. What are you doing, dude? John Gonzalez. Good evening, John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities. Guys, get over there to the Sports Authorities if you haven't already. John's all over those Buckeyes. Listen, nice game. Are they tough, though, John? And I'll go through some scores. You can bring this up. One of the topics I brought up earlier, or at the top, Ryan Day went off at the end of the game, very passionate in his interview on the field after the game, going after Lou Holtz. Keep Lou Holtz off TV, please. Great coach in this time. Keep them off. Keep them with their microphones. Anyway, Ryan Day saying, we proved everybody wrong. We're tough. Are they really tough? It's a great game-winning drive, but why you running sweep on 4th and 1 on the previous series makes no sense. Tough teams don't do that. Tough teams pound out the yard and move on. So a little food for thought there for you guys. USC rolls over at Arizona State on the road, 42-28. Big matchup, 9 a.m. Pacific time start for USC at Colorado on Saturday. They took their lickings, which we'll get to in a second. Not a great defensive performance again for USC. A little bit better, but not great. Great defensive performance by Penn State, but then they played an Iowa team that's running an offense out of 1986. Brian Ferentz is really going to be in trouble. He needs to average 25 points a game. This shutout will hurt him and win 7 games. Iowa, and here's the thing, Iowa stinks, but they'll be rejuvenated as they start playing the Big Ten West schedule, and they look really good, and we'll start talking about how good Iowa is again. They are not good. Their defense is really good. I saw a good question today. What would happen if Iowa and USC were to play in a game? Last time they played, Iowa scored like 48 points. So it tells you how bad USC's defense has been. Washington rolls again. 4 straight blowouts. Gave up a few points to Cal here. 59-32. Washington might be the best team in the country. Oregon goes, as we said, lots going on here. Dan Lanning goes off in his pregame speech to his team, but not soon enough, though, so it can be bulletin board material. Really lays into his team and Colorado and Deion. Look, nobody's wrong in this situation. Deion's doing the things he needs to do for Colorado to get that exposure, to raise the profile of the program. And Dan Lanning's well within his rights to be offended that the rest of these teams in the Pac-12 are not being looked at. But they got their comeuppance, big loss. I believe his son, Shedeur, went to the hospital after this game as well. And probably Colorado's going to get taken to the woodshed again this week against Colorado. Utah, very quietly, 4-0. Good defense, good quarterback. Great quarterbacks all over this conference, by the way. They haven't even got their number 1 quarterback playing yet, Cam Rising. And their quarterback, Johnson, leads them to a 14-7 win over UCLA. UCLA falls out of the poll this week. LSU with a close win, too close at home against Arkansas. Alabama rebounds against Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin cannot get a signature win. Yap. I like Lane Kiffin. I think he's a really good coach. Sooner or later, you got to get a signature win. He does not have one yet. Washington State with another great win. 2 wins now so far over top 25 programs, with a nice win over Oregon State, holding off a really strong late rally by Oregon State, 38-35. Their coach Dickers also had some interesting remarks about Washington State being left behind, taking exception to something Lee Corso said. I think taken out of context on ESPN's Game Day. We'll talk a little bit about that if we have time. Oklahoma, Cincinnati. Oklahoma wins again. Cincinnati's Big 12 debut. The fans were ready. The team was 20-6 Oklahoma. I've said all along, Georgia, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Florida State, your Final 4. So far, I'm tracking okay. North Carolina 41-24 over Pittsburgh. Put those comments up. I'm going to come to them in just a second. Duke demolishes UConn. UConn, a great story under Jim Moore last year, but they had a lot of close games against some really bad teams. 41-7, 0-4 now, UConn. I said North Carolina, I think, beats Pittsburgh on the road. Good win there. Tennessee destroys one of my favorite teams and coaches, Texas San Antonio, 45-14. Anthony mentioned before he thinks South Carolina beats Tennessee this week. And Florida rolls over Charlotte 22-7 at home. I don't know if that's really rolling, though. So, again, some great takeaways here. Let me get your comments here. What do we got while I was away? Not too much, I guess. Just one. Rick Sherlock, good morning. Good morning. What the hell am I saying? Good morning. Well, some program notes here in a little bit, by the way. Notre Dame's coaches with 10 men on the field. Agreed, Rick. You know, it's bad enough. It's bad enough you play with 10 men in the field. After the game, just admit you made a mistake. Don't try to sell me that you really believe the coaching staff and you, Marcus Freeman, and I like Marcus Freeman. I think he's done a good job. And I think he's going to be a very good coach for Notre Dame going forward. But Just own up to your mistake. We counted wrong. We screwed up. Don't try to sell me that you thought it was a better idea to play with 10 guys than take a 6-inch penalty. You had no timeouts. I get that. But you're trying to get a defensive lineman on the field, and they ran right where your hole was. So please, just after the game, just say, we screwed up. I respect that more than, this, we just, it was a coaching decision. We thought 10 men would be fine. Really, guys? Come on. Oh, God. Were there any other big games around FBS we want to talk about? Well, we do like to report the Military Academy, so we'll look at a couple other scores. Wisconsin, big over Purdue. North Carolina State with a back-and-forth win over Virginia. Virginia would play the game their own 4. We know the situation they had with the tragic shootings there, and the fact that they're playing football, is a plus. Haven't played well. Good showing here against a decent North Carolina State team. Boise State gets a win on the road against San Diego State. Air Force, who we mentioned, playing really good football, by the way. Mountain West, I say all the time, highly underrated. Highly underrated. 45-20, they win at a league game at San Jose State. We talked about that. I know we had a few other games I want to look at here. Where are you? I guess this is all the top 25s again. Auburn loses to Texas A&M, but Texas A&M loses their quarterback for the season. Jimbo Fisher gets a much-needed win and a pretty impressive win. Syracuse beats Army 29-16. Nice win for Syracuse, 4-0 over Dino Babers. Big game for them. Clemson might be down, but they're coming to the Carrier Dome, or whatever we call it these days. Is it still the Carrier Dome? I mean, Syracuse beat them here not too long ago in the Carrier Dome when Clemson was really good. Schrader played really well in this game again, I think. Army 2-2, working on a new offense. Kentucky wins over Vanderbilt. They're 4-0. They got a big game this weekend we'll talk about. SMU, TCU, 34-17. TCU has rebounded with 3 wins since losing to Colorado. All of those wins will make that win for Colorado look better, though. The more they win, the better for Colorado. Any other interesting games? Maryland destroys Michigan State. We talked about Michigan State finally officially pulling the trigger on Mel Tucker and really laying it on thick as far as the ridicule, and I'll look for some of the comments later. The show cause is really laid on pretty thick, and Mel Tucker's going to fight this, but he's going to have a hard time. I'm sure there'll become some kind of settlement at some point. Nebraska gets a win to go to 2-2. They beat Louisiana Tech at home 28-14. Kansas, big game with Texas this weekend. Wins over BYU, a nice win in the Big 12 for Kansas. BYU was previously undefeated. By the way, watch BYU this weekend. They've got Tennessee coming across. They've got a 10:30 Eastern time start, but they're also, I think, crossing 2 time zones, Cincinnati. So it's going to be a little tough for Cincinnati in BYU in Provo this weekend. You want to bet a game? We'll see what the spread is on that game. Excuse me. Get this. I need this to be muted. Okay. Possible really good bet. BYU. We'll look at the spread. And why can't I get that volume to stay up, man? Let me turn it down this way. All right, there we go. West Virginia over everybody's Cinderella. Not everybody's. A lot of people Cinderella before the season, 20-13. West Virginia 3-1. Old Dominion. That's not a big game. Oklahoma State loses again. They lose to Iowa State. Both teams 2-2. Gardner-Webb, everyone wants that score. Sorry, East Carolina whoops up on them. Liberty 38-6 over Florida International. Georgia, Wake Forest. Wake Forest loses its first game of the year to Georgia Tech, an improved Georgia Tech team. Bad loss at home for Wake Forest. Probably next week we'll try to get Larry Sorensen on to talk a little ACC and Wake Forest football. So much going on there. I love the ACC. I really believe a playoff team comes from the ACC, and I think it's going to be Duke or it's going to be Florida State. Now, I'm a Miami fan, so I'd like to see the Hurricanes sneak in there. We'll see if that can happen or not. Should be a good race, though. Remember, no divisions this year. Best two teams will play in their championship game. Other games we want to talk about here. Memphis gets beat by Missouri. Missouri sneaks into the top 25, undefeated, 4-0. We called an upset with Missouri over Kansas State 2 weeks ago. Missouri's running rampant right now, 4-0. Big win for them. Northwestern gets a win over Minnesota. That's as bad a loss as Minnesota could have. Anybody who loses to Northwestern in the Big Ten this year, there's going to be some questions. South Carolina, who Anthony mentioned, likes to knock off Tennessee this week, 37-30 over Mississippi State. Mississippi State struggling, 2-2. Both teams are 2-2. Mississippi State will play, I think, Alabama this week. We'll look at that in a second. UCF loses to Kansas State. They bounce back 44-31. And I think that's really all the games I can. Fresno State wins 53-10, and they move into the top 25. And we'll look at that top 25 right now to see what the changes are. There's a few changes. We got some stuff moving up and down. First three teams, still the same. Georgia, and I mentioned earlier, Rick, I don't know if you were here, the question remains, and when I say this, remember, I'm still on record and still on board. Georgia's the favorite to win it all, in my mind, and get that 3-peat. Second in history, depending on how you're scoring at home. But are they the best team in the country right now, or just not ranked number one? That's a big question, and it'll get answered in the next few weeks for sure. But they remain number one, still with 55 first-place votes. The first-place votes were spread out over 6 teams this week. Michigan gets 1. Texas gets 2. Ohio State gets 1. Florida State gets 3 in the 5 slot. They lost a spot in the poll, but got 3 first-place votes. And Washington gets 1 at 7. Washington, here's the thing. Of all these teams, let's go through this real quick, and I want to talk about the wins. We'll just talk about the top 10 for now. As I said, the first 3 spots the same: Georgia, Michigan, Texas. Ohio State moves up 2 to number 4. Now, we're using the AP poll, remember, until such time as the playoff rankings start. Coaches' poll is a bit different. 6 is Penn State, up 1. Washington up 1 to 7. I may have already said that. USC, with a win, drops 3 spots from 5 to 8. Oregon up 1 with their big win over Colorado. Utah up 1 with their really good win, I think, over UCLA, still playing with their backup quarterback. Now, here's the thing. Who's the best team? I think we can safely say they're in the top 10. Right now, Georgia, to me, Georgia's number 1 until they lose. Michigan better make hay in the Big Ten. They don't have any out-of-conference games that will really get them over the hump. If they have a loss, if they have to come up and match schedules against somebody to sneak into the 4th spot, let's say, in the playoff, they're going to have trouble. I still have this up here, and I don't know why I haven't changed my banner at all. They're going to have some trouble. Again, matching resumes with almost anybody. Georgia will have some signature wins. Texas has already gone out of conference and beaten Alabama on the road. Ohio State with a nice win over Notre Dame. Florida State with maybe the best 2 wins of anybody when you couple it with, the upset of LSU in the beginning of the season. Now they beat Clemson on the road. Clemson down is still a tough team to beat at home. So that's 2 good wins for Florida State. Maybe the best 2 of the top 10. Penn State dismantles Iowa. Still not a believer until they beat Ohio State and Michigan. I think he's 2-7, James Franklin, against those two teams. Washington 4-0. Now, maybe the quality hasn't been there possibly, but they've been just dismantling everybody they play. No clunkers. Maybe they had a little bit of a hiccup on defense this week, but still end winning by 30 points almost. USC, no big wins there. Defense still suspect against really bad teams. Oregon with a nice, they've got some nice wins, dismantling teams, scoring tons of points. Defense is really good, but you can't just point to this Colorado win at home and say, well, they're the best team. And Utah just consistent. They've beaten Florida. They've beaten UCLA. Who else have they beaten? Now I'm curious. Baylor and Weber State. They're going to have the Holy War coming up here in a few weeks. They don't have a Holy War matchup this year. No kidding. No games with BYU. Next year they'll be conference rivals. So that's a rivalry that will be back. So again, are there things to take away? Georgia untested in my mind yet, but still number one until they're pushed. Michigan still needs to be pushed. Texas, tough game this week with Kansas at home. They'll have the Red River rivalry, which I think will decide the Big 12 coming up later this year. Ohio State, listen, Ryan Day, you didn't prove you're tough to me. You just didn't. And I will say this much. Maybe they didn't prove their toughness necessarily to me because anytime you're going to run a sweep on 4th and 1 or less than 1, I don't know what you're thinking about. You think you're a tough football team. Why are you calling that play? Now, their defense has improved. We'll give them that. So from a toughness standpoint, the defense playing much better. And an uneven performance, though, against a good Notre Dame team. Florida State got caught looking ahead a little bit, survived it at Boston College 2 weeks ago, gets a good win at Clemson, as we said. Question marks. Washington, we still want to see play somebody. USC's got to play somebody. They play Colorado this week. Let's see what their defense does with that Colorado offense, which didn't even show up last week, or Oregon just destroyed them. You can look at it any way you want. And I do see Jim Behringer here. We'll bring him in here just a second before we look at any more of these rankings. And we'll get Jim's take on some of the things that we've been talking about so far and some of the things that we'll want to look at this weekend. Let me find a little banner for Jim before I bring him in. Good evening, Jim Behringer. How are you?
What's up, buddy? How we doing?
Awesome. Great to have you with us. I'm trying to write out the last couple of days here before I go on vacation because I got a badly needed 10-day vacation coming here.
There you go. I'm doing well. Thanks. Always a pleasure here talking some college football here on a Wednesday.
Oh, God. So I know we talked a little bit Sunday, but here's a couple of things. I just want to throw a couple of things out at you that I took away from this weekend.
All right. I like it.
Back to earth, exposed a bit. Don't tell me about Hunter being out. There's going to be no difference in this game. Ohio State, Ryan Day goes off. Great drive by them at the end of the game, but are they tough, really? Are they really tough when you're not pounding out 1 yard and you're trying to run sweeps to get that 1 yard on the drive before? Some question marks there. Texas defense, I'm kind of impressed with what I've seen there. We all know what they can do on offense. Defense has been a problem for them. And I'll give Ohio State credit for their defense being improved. I'm just throwing some things out here that I've talked about, and we'll get into all of them. Georgia, still number one, still my favorite to win. Are they the best team right now or just ranked number one? And I'll throw you one more thing. That's it for now. Let's
I'll add one more in there for you.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on Washington State.
their coach had his own remarks. And again, some of these coaches,
Yeah.
went off on poor Lee Corso, who was taken out of context. He said it was the Left Behind Bowl, meaning he didn't disparage Oregon State and Washington State. He was just saying, they didn't get taken with the rest of the teams elsewhere, and the coach took a little umbrage to that. So, but that's a good football team.
It's a really good football team. It's a really good football team that's going to be dangerous to play coming down the straight.
They let Oregon State come back there in that game, but they held on at the end. So Cam Ward, we said in the show last week, if Cam Ward protects the football, they would win this game.
Yeah. I mean, look, you look at the big weekend, right? You look at it. You look at the games, obviously. You look at Ohio State and Notre Dame. Take away from that, Ohio State's defense is vastly improved over what it was the last couple of years under Ryan Day. I think the way they were able to stop Sam Hartman, and Sam Hartman's going to have some trouble this weekend with Duke.
Are they tough, though, Jim? Are they tough? You saw the rant he gave. We're tough. We're tough. Everybody says we're not tough.
Coaches don't listen to the media. Okay, all right, really, okay. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't care what Lou Holtz said or what Lee Corso says or all this says. It doesn't matter. They stepped up when they needed to. The defense held it together. They made Notre Dame throw the football on a drive to get the stop clock, get the extra time.
Yep.
They ran smart plays. They were able to convert. Kyle McCord was able to convert. Ajuka was able to do what they had to do, train them. Like, all those guys, they were able to step up when it mattered. And Ohio State's defense has been a question mark, especially when they played Michigan. And to me right now, they have a good defense, and that could be the difference in them winning the Big Ten and not winning the Big Ten.
Well, it's funny because this is a great win for them. Don't get me wrong. And by the way, that's the best. It'll be better than any out of conference win Michigan has all year.
Oh, absolutely.
But this is all this is moot if they don't beat Michigan. So
right, exactly. It doesn't matter. And but I will say to everybody who says, "Oh well, it wasn't important to Notre Dame." This game was damn sure important to Notre Dame, because let me tell you something. One loss Notre Dame, and there's 4 one-loss champions or an undefeated champion and another. They ain't getting in this playoff. So it's going to be real. And look out, like I said, they're going to Durham this weekend. They have to play a very good top 10 defense in Duke. Duke beat Clemson. I know Sam Hartman's come from the ACC, he's seen this team, but Mike Elko's got this Duke team playing really well. I would not be surprised if there's an upset in Durham this weekend.
With a fighting athletic quarterback too. I love that quarterback.
Right. So, and then you go back to the weekend. Oregon, I think, is probably the best team, along with Washington in the Pac-12. But again, there's so many good teams because that conference is so deep in their last year of existence. Look, everybody knows what Colorado was. They beat TCU. They beat Nebraska. Nebraska's not a good team. They should have lost to Colorado State and didn't because their team wasn't ready to play. Travis Hunter being there wouldn't have mattered. Oregon would have killed them anyway. You go play USC this weekend. Look, USC's defense, as much as they give up points, they get to the quarterback. And they've been sacking quarterbacks lately. So Shador's going to be running for his life again.
And listen, if USC plays a good defensive game, they may want to play all their games at 9:30 Pacific time.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I think that's going to be a slow start for both teams.
Yeah. It's only 10:30, I guess, for Colorado, but it's only an hour difference, really. I guess.
Well, go back and watch the Nebraska game because it was the same time, and they got off to a slow first. The first half was not good for Colorado, and then they started to explode in the second half. But USC's team is just too good. They got too many weapons. Colorado's defense is just not that good, and they'll be 3-2 after this weekend. I just don't see Colorado winning.
I still think they're at best 7-5 once it's over. So
yeah, I mean, another takeaway from this weekend, you go to the SEC. Alabama, they are what they are, right? They're going to rely on their defense. Jalen Milroe is going to make a throw here or there, but Lane Kiffin just can't beat Nick Saban.
Lane Kiffin doesn't win big games. I mean, like Kiffin. I like him a lot, but he's got to. If he's going to talk, he's got to get a signature win somewhere along the line.
And that would have been the game. He had a chance to give the knockout shot to Alabama and didn't do it.
I think Nick Saban's really going to kind of turn back the clock a little bit and get kind of, as you said, rely on his defense. Don't turn the ball over. Run, maybe grounded, pounding a little bit more than we're used to. But I think you may see Bama return to its roots, and maybe their demise is a little overrated. Who knows?
I don't know. I mean, again, Ole Miss got a big game this weekend with LSU coming to town. And so I was doing some research for this game because I put it on my games to watch on full press coverage.
Mm-hmm.
The last 2 times in Oxford, so in 2015, Ole Miss beat LSU, and then a couple years ago they did it again. They held LSU to 17 points.
Interesting.
So I'm just saying, if Ole Miss is going to win this game, they got to hold Jaden Daniels in check and that offense. And that defense didn't play well last week. They gave up big yardages, couldn't cover guys. And don't forget, Neighbors is there. Malik Neighbors is going to have a field day down there. So I think LSU, and that knocks Ole Miss out of the conversation, and that's that for them. But, I mean, you think about it. Again, we talk about Pac-12. I still say it's the best conference going right now. And you have Utah and Oregon State Friday.
Yeah, Friday night's the night for Pac-12 and Mountain West games. I mean, there's always some good games, it seems, on Friday night.
But that's a huge game, especially for Utah.
Yeah. Utah's played under the radar, really good football. That's a nice
Last week was
their defense is playing better than anybody's not named Oregon anyway.
Right.
In the Pac-12. They haven't even had their first string quarterback play all year.
And he might be back Friday.
Yeah, I've been hearing that for
he took warm-ups last week and didn't play. So if you're taking warm-ups and didn't play, you got to be close, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Look at Utah. Everybody's talking, and as always, well, last year actually there was some hype for Utah.
There was a lot of hype for Utah last year.
Yeah, I got caught up in it and went away right after that horrible loss to Florida on the road. It wasn't horrible, but a bad loss.
They lost the final. It was final play kind of deal.
I guess I was thinking I had Oregon and Utah mixed up a little bit there. But they're under the radar. Everybody's talking about Washington. They're playing great football. They may be the best team in the country. You look, again, untested a little bit, but the scores are there. They haven't had one letdown.
No.
Games. USC, obviously, they're going to get talked about. Oregon, off the big win against Colorado and just scored points like crazy.
Yeah, what do they average, like 50 points a game?
And Utah kind of sliding under the radar there. So.
Hey, they've won the Pac-12 back-to-back years. This team they brought a lot of guys back, both sides of the ball. They're physical. They're nasty. DJ is going to have a time against this Utah team.
You know, we talk about the quarterbacks, the great quarterbacks in the Pac-12. There's some really good coaches out there, too.
Yes, there is very good coaches.
Willingham is another guy. A guy's name never comes up when we're talking about great college football coaches. He's a great coach. Kyle Whittingham, right?
Yeah.
What else? So looking at the top 25, as I was talking about a little bit.
Yeah.
When you came in, any surprises there? We had. I just went through the top 10. Which, listen, to me, you can rank these teams pretty much in any order right now, and it wouldn't bother me that much.
No, I mean, again, it does. I mean, look, we all know it doesn't matter until in 2 weeks when the first college football poll comes out. So these AP polls are great. Now, we know who. Texas at 3. I mean, yes, Florida State won, but they dropped it. So that was kind of interesting, but Ohio State had a big win. So that kind of makes sense.
Texas fallen 3 spots after a victory.
Yeah, but they gave up a lot of points to Arizona State. So I think people just don't like their defense.
As you said, it doesn't matter a whole lot. The top 10 isn't where I really focus because, like I said, they're all 4-0. You know, there'll be some one-loss teams in here eventually.
Yeah, even LSU dropped a spot because of their win against Arkansas.
To me, where it's important to look at the poll is where the teams are starting to get into the poll and then move up, into the teens and whatnot. Keep an eye. You want to keep an eye on Oklahoma and Duke and some teams that started out of the poll.
UNC, Washington State, Miami.
Oh, they're great. All great examples. Missouri jumps in the poll this week. They're off to a
Kansas is off to a 4-0 start.
big game in Texas this weekend. That'll be interesting, actually.
They might lose. They'll probably lose.
We'll see how good that defense is for Texas, though, because Kansas can put some points
Yeah,
up.
they could. This is, to me, we all talk about Big 12, no defense. I think we're going to see it this week.
That'll be interesting to see.
Fresno State's in there, 4-0.
Fresno State sneaks in, and Colorado, UCLA, and Iowa all jump out. Listen, Iowa, that Iowa game, how long Kirk Ferentz, we talk about Brian Ferentz and his contract, and if he doesn't average 25 points, he's going to get fired. Well, how long is Kirk going to keep his job? I know he's an institution. He's probably the longest tenured coach in FBS 1A, I would think. But they're running an offense from like 1986 out there.
They can't score no points.
You can't keep doing that with the way the game's played today.
No.
I mean, even with a quarterback who's played in a playoff game, they still can't score points. So
no, I mean, look, that bunch from like 14 to 18 will be interesting. We'll see how high like some of these teams go. I got to imagine if Duke beats Notre Dame, they're gonna jump. You would think.
yeah, teams that I would keep an eye on outside of, let's say, top 13 teams. Oklahoma, Carolina, I still am not crazy about.
I'm not sure about their defense.
Yeah. I would watch Oklahoma, Duke, even Miami. I know that's probably more of a heart than a head thing, but still 4-0.
Hey, I mean, they got if they could beat Florida State and a couple of those teams in the ACC, they have a shot.
I don't see anybody past that though really being
No.
a run at the top four. Those three teams would.
No, and I mean, look,
As
we
much as
know.
like Washington State, they're going to get tripped up.
Wait, who?
Pac-12, right?
Well, yeah, they'll probably get tripped up somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, Washington, Oregon, Utah, USC, somewhere along the way are all going to have a loss, potentially. It's a war of attrition in the Pac-12 right now.
Let me take a quick look. I want to get your take before we go to the games. I want to get your take on, first of all, Michigan State officially fires Mel Tucker today, and they
stupid.
They laid it on heavy, by the way, for the show cause. As far as, let me use some of the wording they used was very interesting. His admitted and undisputed behaviors which brought public disrespect, contempt, and ridicule upon the university and constitute material breach of his agreement and moral turpitude. They're looking to get out from under
a 10-year contract,
$76 million or so here. There's a court battle coming here.
Oh, Mel Tucker's going to sue him.
So Mel Tucker's out, like it or not. There was rumors last year that they were looking for something on Jimbo Fisher to get him out of Texas A&M for cause, and nobody could come up with anything. Is Michigan State a good job? Is this still a good job? After this?
Maybe. I mean, it's still an elite job. You're in the Big Ten.
You are in the Big Ten. I mean, are you going to attract the kind of coach that they may that they think they may deserve? I mean, what's his name at Kansas State? Kleinsman. What the hell's his name?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. He pulled his name out. Kleiman. He pulls his name out. There's talk about PJ Fleck from Minnesota being interested.
Stay in Minnesota, PJ. Keep the boat there.
By the way, one of the worst losses on the card last week was Minnesota losing to Northwestern. Any Big Ten team that loses Northwestern this year, you got to have a gut check after that.
That's not good.
That's a very bad loss.
I mean, it's still a good job. I mean, we know Michigan State. I mean, they got to a Big Ten championship game. I think they made the playoff one year too.
They did like 2015 or 16 with Mark D'Antonio.
Yeah.
By the way, one of the candidates to come back. He's on the staff now.
I mean, Mark D'Antonio was a great coach for Sparty. I mean, he had that team playing hard every game.
Yeah. I just felt he kind of got a rough deal there, to be honest.
I did too, but I mean, I think it's still a good job.
One name Go ahead.
You could get recruits to come there. It's still a Big Ten.
One name I see on there that I don't like seeing is Bill O'Brien. But
no, Bill O'Brien can stay. could stay put in pros.
I'd like to see him coaching my quarterback for a while, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't think Bill O'Brien's going to go there.
Any other major news items or takeaways before we look at this week's game?
Oh yeah, the committee met in Chicago these past 2 days.
Yeah.
They were talking about the playoff, and there were rumors that potentially could go to 5+7 with the 5 automatic bids and then 7 at large. But they're going to keep it 6-6 for at least 2 years and find out, or they're shelving it until the situation out west is settled. Well, those were the words I saw.
Yeah, that is exactly what they said. In fact, the AAC commissioner said yesterday he was okay with the 5 and 7 if they go there, because that's still giving the top group of 5.
I saw he said he didn't like it though.
No, he's okay with it because now you've only got 4 power conferences.
Right.
The 5 will still give the best of the others.
Right. Mountain West and AAC, right?
Yeah, it's probably going to be those 2 conferences more years than not. I mean, I guess somebody could slide in there from
Sun Belt or whatever.
Bell Conference USA or something.
Yeah.
Still, that's going to take some doing
to
get there. But that still gives them that 1 automatic bid, which I think they'll be fine with. I thought, and you're probably right when they did say 2 years, but they put that caveat in there. If the Pac-12 thing gets resolved this year, then after next year, they could get away from the 6-6. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think from my understanding of the rule book and the bylaws, the Pac-12 can technically have 2 teams for at least 2 years until they can add more teams. Like you can be under the threshold of 8 for 2 years.
Right.
But then after that, then you don't exist.
Well, that brings, and I don't know that you and I have had a chance to talk about it. I've talked about it a couple of times. The choices for Oregon State and Washington State. They can try to.
Did Keith Freeze?
The logo, and there's still some value in the brand.
Especially after this year.
With those 2 teams, as the flagships, and then you go and you raid the Mountain West for their best teams. You go to the AAC.
Or you merge, and you just say, hey, the Mountain West doesn't exist anymore. You're the Pac-12.
If I'm the Mountain West, that's a good deal for me.
It is a good deal for me.
Better TV revenue. Everything is better. Better exposure. Maybe it's keep your Power 5, tag if you're lucky. But I think it's going to be hard. I think the logistics are going to be so hard. The much easier thing to do is just say, okay, we're going to go to the Mountain West and we're done. Less litigation. There's so many money considerations that I don't even understand them all.
Yeah, there's too many. There's too much money involved, man.
There's a lot of courtroom battles probably to come with Oregon State and Washington State with the teams that are leaving the Pac-12, because they're claiming, we're entitled to all the money now. You've made your choice to leave. You announced you were leaving. You're not entitled to anything that we get revenue-wise after you've made your announcement. So there's going to be a lot of.
I just wish the leadership, and I know I'm beating a dead horse and going to go on a soapbox, but I just wish the leadership of the NCAA and the guy at the Pac-12 just took a firmer stand and didn't allow this to happen. Because you ruined such a great conference. Yeah,
listen, it was all about TV money. We know that. As funny as it turns out now, if they'd all been patient, things might have worked out differently, and they might have got that TV contract.
Based on Colorado alone.
Yeah, even with USC and UCLA leaving, they still would have gotten a Big 12 contract, I think. Letting this season play out the way that it looks like it's going to, I think the money would have been there. You could have brought in a couple of teams to replace them, but the commissioner's got to be at fault here for letting this thing fall apart.
Yeah, they got it. He's definitely at fault for this because he should have took a firmer stand and said, no, you guys can't do this. You guys have to play it out. And they should have had a better deal in place like the ACC does, where it's going to be hard for those teams to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Let's
go to the schedule, right?
Let's go to the schedule. Let's start with that big game on Friday night. We'll start in the top 25, and then we'll look at some of the best of the rest. Utah at Oregon State. Oregon State trying to rebound from a tough loss at Wazoo. I like Utah here.
I like Utah. I mean, they have Oregon State favored at -3. I don't know why, but I like Utah here.
Still a good football team, but I like Utah until they lose here. And if Cam Rising plays, that line might even move a little bit. We'll find out.
Yeah, but even if Nate Johnson's there, I still think Utah's the better team.
Duke and Notre Dame. Notre Dame a 6-point favorite on the road against a really, really good, underrated Duke team. I like the points here a lot.
I like the points. I like Duke to win this thing outright.
I think they can win it outright as well.
I think that I like their defense. I like their quarterback. I like their coach. That coach is going to have this team fired up. I know Notre Dame's coming off a disappointing loss. I know I love Marcus Freeman as a coach. He'll have these guys ready. But I've seen what Sam Hartman could do against good defenses. They didn't look. If Notre Dame was running the offense they had ran the 3 weeks prior, they should have blown the doors off of Ohio State, and they didn't.
And I like a lot. As I said before, Riley Leonard is just he finds a way. He makes plays happen. There'll be plays that aren't there, and he just makes stuff up. I like watching this kid play.
Me
and
too.
Mike Elko is he'll be one of the guys mentioned for that Michigan State.
He shouldn't leave. I think he's building something good at Duke.
I would say the same thing. Penn State goes to Northwestern. This should be a blowout.
That should be a blowout, easy blowout, man. That's easy money.
I really don't want to hear much about Penn State until they beat Michigan or Ohio State.
Ohio State, exactly.
As we talked about, USC with a 9:30 a.m. Pacific time start for them at Colorado. I think Colorado will score more than 6 points this week, but I don't think
USC will move to 5-0.
Yeah, and I think
So the thing is, it's all about the start. I think Colorado covers first half, but I don't know if they're going to cover 21.5.
I might go crazy and take the over here, 73.5. Yikes.
That might happen. That might happen.
Colorado can score. Florida and Kentucky, interesting. Florida better than expected right now, 3-1. Kentucky undefeated. They're home here. Leary's played pretty well, coming from North Carolina State for Kentucky to replace Will Levis. UK is a 1-point favorite in this game. I like.
So it's true pick 'em. Yeah. I think I'll go with Florida on the road.
You're gonna take Florida. I'll take Kentucky in this game. Georgia, still untested. They're 14.5-point favorite at Auburn. Auburn didn't play well against Texas A&M last week, and I don't think
they should blow them out. They should blow them out.
It's going to take Hugh Freeze a little time to get things straightened out, I think. Georgia should win easy. Michigan goes to Nebraska. Michigan untested.
Yeah, Michigan should win.
Still not showing much, even though they got a win at home last week to go to 2-2.
Michigan.
Kansas at Texas.
This will be a fun game to watch at 3:30.
16.5 points.
That's a little high for me.
For me, it is too. The Texas defense played really well last week against a bad Baylor team.
Kansas can score points. I think they've been averaging 37.5 points.
I think Texas wins this game, but I think it's less than the 16.5.
I think Texas wins, but it's gonna be a shootout.
Missouri at Vanderbilt, 13.5-point favorite. They are on the road. Vanderbilt's really no good. Missouri
should win.
And a really good matchup that you mentioned earlier, LSU goes to Ole Miss. LSU is a 2.5-point favorite on the road.
I think LSU wins this game. I just like their offense too much. Ole Miss defense did not show up. Jackson Dart better have a better game for Ole Miss to win, but I think the Tigers are going to 4-1.
LSU's got to play better than they played last week at home against Arkansas, though.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't think they can be given the excuse of looking ahead.
No.
Oregon gets a breather.
Yeah, exactly. Oregon 5-0. Expect another. This is another stack game for Bo Nix and company.
Bye week.
Bye week, exactly. Oklahoma, same thing. Bye week at home against Iowa State.
What has happened to Matt Campbell? My God, his star has fallen so far. He was mentioned for every job in the country for like 3 straight years, and now, listen, he's not.
No, I mean, though Oklahoma hasn't really impressed on offense, though, and they're 4-0, but you know, their defense is actually really good at Oklahoma, something we haven't said in a long time about.
Good evening, Alan. Alan's calling for the upset of Kansas over Texas. Kansas.
I think they'll keep it close. I just think Texas finds a way.
You know what? I still think this league, I will say this, Alan, and I said it for a while. I think this Big 12 comes down to Oklahoma. It'll come down to the Red River rivalry, and Oklahoma, your Oklahoma team, Alan, will come out on top.
Well, that would mean that Texas and Oklahoma would play each other twice then, right?
They could play in the championship game, sure.
Right.
Yep. Very good possibility of that happening, actually. South Carolina, Tennessee.
Tennessee should win.
Anthony Price, his big upset was South Carolina beating Tennessee this week. I think Tennessee will win this game. Spencer Rattler's just too inconsistent. This team doesn't beat anybody that's any good, ever.
Nope.
I do like their coach. Shane Beamer's a really good coach.
Shane Beamer, great coach.
I do think he'll get this thing figured out eventually. What else we got here? Oh,
Bama at Mississippi State, man. That's woo.
You know, I fell into this trap when LSU went up there a couple of weeks ago. I thought Mississippi State would have a chance to win that game and at least cover, and they got their pants handed to them. So I think Alabama.
Yeah, but Alabama's a different team, man. That offense is just not that good.
I think Alabama wins this game, but it might be a lot closer than 14.
Me too.
Washington goes to Arizona.
Bye week for Washington. No offense to Arizona, who's 3-1, but Michael Penix Jr. is going to have another stats game.
Got to be the Heisman leader right now, don't you think?
Clubhouse leader right now.
Yeah, for sure. 16 touchdowns already for Michael Penix Jr. Sorry. Nevada plays Fresno State. This should
Fresno should go to 5-0.
Other games of note.
All right, let's go.
One I like, and I think BYU is a great bet this week.
That's gonna be a good game.
Cincinnati's having. We talked about that's an early start, and Cincinnati is having to cross 2 time zones, going west.
That's a Friday night. That's a Friday night game.
I think that's a very tough ask for Cincinnati here, and I
think BYU goes to 4-1 here.
What's the line in that game, by the way?
It is 2 for Cincinnati.
Wow, I love BYU in this game.
I think BYU covers.
I'm all over that. That better be in the cigar box picks this week. I
got one for you.
Yep, throw it at me. I got
one for you at 12 o'clock. Don't know why Clemson's favored 6.5 at Syracuse. Usually teams go there and lose. So I think Syracuse in the Dome. I'll take Syracuse in the Dome.
I had that one written down here as well. And Syracuse, listen, Dino Babers is a very underrated coach, and he's got it going there pretty good. So I see Alan's got a couple of comments here. Let's grab them before we while you looking for some other games. Oklahoma defense has allowed the fewest points.
I did say that their defense is vastly improved. Something we haven't really said about Oklahoma. They score and they give up a lot, but now they're playing a lot better defense because the offense is just not scoring points.
I do agree, but we have to see them tested first. I want to see them good offense before I get too excited.
Me too.
Number 2 scoring defense, Alan says. Other games of note, I can read.
Michigan State and Iowa, low-scoring affair?
Michigan State and Iowa should be a very low-scoring affair, like a nothing game, probably. I like Maryland this weekend. Who they got coming in there? Is it Indiana?
Do they have Indiana? Yeah, they do have Indiana coming in there.
Like Maryland this weekend. We talked about South Carolina. TCU, West Virginia, an interesting game.
That's a good game. That's actually a sneaky good game.
Yeah, TCU's bounced back with 3 wins after losing to Colorado. West Virginia off to a pretty good
3-1 start. Yeah, that should be a good game.
I like that game. Who else did I have here?
San Diego State Air Force should be a fun one.
I always have the military academies here. South Florida will play Navy. I like Navy in an upset here. San Diego State and Air Force. Air Force is really good. 4-0.
Yeah.
Really been scoring some points as well. And Army's actually on a bye this week. So
you got Texas. How about Texas A&M Arkansas? That's an interesting game.
Very interesting, especially since the quarterback is out for a year for Texas A&M as Jimbo Fisher gets another bad break. But I might like Arkansas in this game.
Me too. Me too.
And the hot seat gets hotter for Jimbo.
I think Jimbo might be gone after this year, or they're going to give him another shot because of injuries.
And that's really all I have that really makes sense.
There's not a lot of standout games. It's not like last year we had like
No.
7-pack of like great games.
No.
There's still a lot of good games on the card.
Yeah, you still got 4 games of top 25 ranked opponents, so that's not too bad. Plus some of
We're now in the conference play, so this is good.
This is what I get excited about. I like conference play. Now we start to find out who's really good and who's not. And you're going to start to see these teams start to separate a little bit, I think, that are bunched up.
I agree.
All right, Jim, I'm going to let you run. Excellent having you with us tonight. I appreciate it as always.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. You know this.
Just so you know, and you don't feel slighted, I'm going to be on vacation. So my Sunday stream of consciousness the next 2 Sundays and next week's college football is going to be kind of on the fly on the cruise ship. So I'll probably do it, but I don't know when. So
all right, sounds good.
We'll catch
up. If it's during the day on Wednesday, let me know.
I'll try to. You know what I'll do is when I do it, maybe I'll just send you off a quick invite if you get a chance to jump on while I'm doing it. Because I might do it a half hour, or it might do it an hour and a half. Depends on how many drinks I got in me.
Hey guys, I just gotta tell you, this is my send off for tonight. I watch college football every Saturday. I love the games. I stay up late to watch games. I turn on the pros the next day. That shit's boring as hell. After watching Saturday, I'm dead serious. Like I love the NFL. I love football, but college football is so much more exciting.
I have a hard time I watch my team, and I have a hard time watching any other games. I really do. It's very, very tough to watch.
It's so exciting, so much fun. There's even some games tomorrow. I saw that. I think Action's starting or whatever. Or there's some games tomorrow.
Starting to get those early week games now.
Yeah, MTSU, Western Kentucky, Temple, and Tulsa. Like you get some. I mean, like they're not household names, but I mean, yeah, I'll throw it on for a little bit. But I actually won't throw it on a little bit. I'll have to catch the highlights. I forgot I'm going to the Devil Ranger game, preseason action. So
that's your number one priority.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that should be fun. But always a pleasure to be in here talking college football.
Excellent. We'll have you back, and I'll send you an invite if I think of it. And again, these things are on the fly for the next week and a half. But we'll get you if we can. If not, we'll catch up when I get back.
Sounds good, brother.
Thank you, Jim Behringer. Have a great night.
Have a good night, and don't forget, fullpresscoverage.com, the games of the week. Check it out.
Check him out. Check his stuff out on LTS, too. Very good stuff. Thanks, Jim.
Bye, Keith.
Great stuff. Thanks, Jim. Again, check his stuff out, as he said, on fullpresshockey.com for the hockey stuff. Check him out on LTS, Let's Talk Sports Network, for everything else. I mean, Jim's not a one-trick pony. Hockey's his paid gig, if you will, I guess, but the man knows his stuff when it comes to college football and sports in general. We love having him on. So what do you got here? What do you got, Rick? The same holds true for college. Yeah. College basketball, I would say the same holds true for sure. Maybe even more so in my mind, Rick. You know what? It's funny. As I sit here thinking about it, and Jim was saying that, I've often defended the NFL more than the NBA, but I do find myself, if I turned a game out, like I watch a Patriot game Sunday, if I didn't see another game the rest of the weekend, I didn't care unless I had a bet on it. You know, that's also got me watching games. College football, I'll bet a game I bet. I'll watch a game I bet. I'll watch a game I didn't bet. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, we're going to take a quick run around the conferences here. Guys, any topics? Alan, if you're still with me, we can talk about the Big 12 a little bit if you want. We are starting into conference plays. We'll take a quick run around the conferences, and some of them are just barely getting started. For instance, the AAC has only had a couple of conference games so far. Memphis is 1-0. South Florida is 1-0. I do like Navy in a AAC matchup this weekend. I like them a lot against South Florida on the road. I don't know why I like them. I just do. So they're the only teams that have won any games, and Rice and Navy are the only teams that have lost any games in conference. Non-conference standouts, Memphis is off to a 3-1 start. Tulane's off to a 3-1 start. Very tough loss to Mississippi. That hurt them a little bit. Let me put my banner up here to go around these conferences. Where am I? Well, I had a banner. Here we go. Swing around college football. So those are the teams that are doing well there. The Atlantic Coast Conference. This is going to be, along with the Pac-12, I think a much improved race this year. No divisions. Best two teams will play in the playoff. Florida State off to a great start, as we talked about, maybe with the best two wins of the early season of all the top 10 teams. Louisville, they're 2-0 in conference, 4-0 overall. Louisville off to a surprising 2-0 start and 4-0 overall. We've already talked about Duke, and I think Duke is going to be a dangerous team. Keep your eye on them. North Carolina State, they're all have 2 or 1 wins, undefeated, we'll say. Miami hasn't played anything yet. Syracuse will play their first conference game against Clemson tomorrow. Clemson already 0-2, along with Boston College in the AAC. Florida, Louisville, Duke, North Carolina, all off to 4-0 starts. Miami off to 4-0 start. Syracuse off to a 4-0 start. Going to be a tough conference. You're going to get the best two teams this year as well. And again, we'll try to get out next week. I can't get Larry in. I said I'd have Larry in next week. When I get back from vacation in 2 weeks, we'll try to get Larry Sorensen in to catch us up on everything he can bring to the table about the ACC. Big 12. Few 1-0 teams: Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas State, TCU, West Virginia, Iowa State have all won. The rest of the teams have all lost. As far as quick starts for overall, Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma, all 4-0. Kansas State, 3-1, but not a good loss, to Missouri. TCU with a bad loss to Colorado. West Virginia with a bad loss to Penn State. So we'll see. Oklahoma's still my pick to come out of this league and be in the Final Four. As I skipped it in the ACC, Florida State still my pick there. Duke, a dark horse. For Florida State, I've got in the playoff, but you cannot discount Duke. The Big Ten. Penn State, 2-0. Yeah, well, they haven't played Ohio State or Michigan yet, have they? Maryland 1-0 with a nice win last week over Michigan State, a big win over Michigan State. Michigan, these teams are all 1-0. Best to look at them out conference. Penn State's 4-0, Maryland 4-0, surprising. Michigan, no surprise there. Ohio State, nice win over Notre Dame. Probably the best non-conference win in the conference. Not probably, it is. Rutgers off to a 3-1 start, but they got handed their pants last week against Michigan. So no surprise there. Any surprises out west? Wisconsin 3-1, but a loss to Washington State, but not as bad as loss as you might think. As we've seen Washington State really playing good football and moving up that poll. Northwestern, surprisingly, in second place in that division. They've already won 2 games. I didn't think they'd win a game all year. They've won 2 games. They're 2-2 overall. And Minnesota with a bad loss to Northwestern last week. Nebraska's still looking for their first Big Ten win under Matt Rule. They'll try to get it against Michigan at home this week. Good luck with that. Conference USA, Liberty off to a 2-0 start. 4-0 overall. Jacksonville State is 3-1 overall. Right now, they're major competitors. But watch out for Western Kentucky in this conference. And watch out for Louisiana Tech, always pretty good. The Independents, which is shrinking, by the way, as Liberty has joined a conference this year. Somebody else joined a conference as well. But we're down to 4 independent teams. Notre Dame, obviously, the cream of the crop. Army, 2-2, as we said, unveiling a new offense. Massachusetts and UConn, both no good. 1-8 combined. Mid-American, Ohio off to a 4-1 start. Overall, not a bad start for them. Toledo off to a 3-1 start. So those are 2 teams to keep an eye on for maybe some decent bowl positions later on in the year. But we'll follow these conferences as they get more into it. Out in the Mountain West, one of my underrated conferences, the AAC gets a lot of the pub for the group of 5, and I've been on that bandwagon myself in recent years. But Mountain West, really good, deep league in my mind. Air Force is off to a 2-0 start in conference, 4-0 overall. They've already scored 139 points in 4 games. This is a good football team. Calhoun's been there a while. I like them to win this conference, even though number 25 Fresno State hasn't played a conference game yet, outscoring Air Force. Watch out for these two. I think they'll battle it out. Wyoming's got a good team, though. They're 3-1 with a big win over Texas Tech. So some good stuff coming out of the Mountain West. The Pac-12, USC 2-0 in conference. Bunch of 1-0 teams. The really good stories, obviously, USC, Oregon, Utah, Washington State, all 4-0, all really good teams, all with really good quarterbacks, all with really good coaches. This is a really good, deep league, and it's a shame what's happened to it. I see a comment up there. I'll get to you in just a second. I'm going to finish up these last 2 conferences. We'll take your comments, and we'll maybe go through a couple other conversation points depending on what you guys throw at me. We can certainly cover stuff we covered earlier if you're joining us late. Southeast Conference, nobody really tested yet. LSU in the West is 2-0. Georgia, Kentucky, Florida, all 1-0 in the East. South Carolina 1-1. Florida, Kentucky, both 4-0 starts. Missouri 4-0 start in the polls this week. Congrats to them. Good job getting out of the gate there. Alabama rebounds. They're undefeated. 1-0 in the conference. 3-1. We'll see. Big game. Alabama this week against Ole Miss. I'm sorry, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss and LSU, I think, are the big matchups myself in the SEC this weekend. These things will start to unfold a little more, as we said. Sun Belt, not really much to report there. Georgia State is off to an impressive 4-0 start. James Madison, don't sleep on in this conference, obviously. Still bowl ineligible, I believe, this year. And James Madison is also 4-0. So keep an eye on that. And Texas State, by the way, has already got a win over Baylor. So a win over a power conference team, if you will. Brandon. Hello, Brandon. How are you? If you want more views, you must upload shorter clips. Good information. Thanks, Brandon, except I can't do my show in 10-second intervals. I'm not necessarily interested in 5,000 views. This show gets, 2,000, about 2,000, between 2,000 and 3,000 views between all the platforms. I'm not Joe Rogan. I'm not out there for the people with short attention spans. But I appreciate your input, Brandon. Thanks a lot. We could chop this up. I don't have time for that. I've got a real job. If somebody wants to come in and produce this show and chop it up into 10-second segments for TikTok, well, then God bless them. And I do a vlog now and again, which I have not done in a while. I'm trying to get back into doing it. Maybe something while I'm on a cruise ship will get me after I've had a few to chat about. A couple other topics we can jump into before we jump out. The new rules in college football have not seemed to shorten games. I don't know if it's the commercials. I don't know if it's TV timeouts, which I guess lead to commercials. But as you may or may not know, the clock rules have changed, where the clock does not stop on every first down the entire game anymore and waits until the ball is set. I don't know. These guys come in and thanks, Brandon, but I don't know. I don't know why that bugs me. Appreciate your help. Sorry, just get distracted. Anyway, the first down does not stop the clock all through the game, only in the last 2 minutes of each half. Then the marker, while the marker gets moved, the ball gets set, the clock stopped. Hasn't had much impact, though. Very little impact, in fact. So I don't know. I think it's impacted games because I still think coaches aren't quite sure how to react to that. I think you saw, like I would, if I was Notre Dame, I think I would have run the football to run the clock down further. I still think coaches are unsure how to manage the clock outside of that 2 minutes. You get inside of 2 minutes, it's just like it always was. But I think they're unsure because to me, inside 4 minutes, inside 5 minutes still has a lot of impact and clock management in a lot of these games. I think coaches are still adjusting to the new realities. Sorry. Sorry, but I forgot that. I apologize. My voice is wearing out a little tonight. Where are we? Let's look at some of the questions from the mailbag here. Is Marcus Freeman in over his head at Notre Dame? Look at, I know you can't have 10 men on the field on the final 2 plays of the game. We talk about the last play, but it was the final 2 plays. I do think it was bad clock management, throwing the ball on their last possession and try to run the clock down more. But I think Marcus Freeman's done a really good job at Notre Dame for the most part. They got off to this god-awful start last year, remember? He rebounded that team. That team could have gone in the tank at 1-3 last year. They finished 9-4 overall. Did a great job. Got to a decent bowl game. They didn't win. But well, maybe they did win. Sorry, they did win. They beat South Carolina, right? But I don't think he's in over his head. He was able to get the best quarterback Notre Dame's had in decades, maybe the best quarterback since Joe Montana. Rick Meyer, I guess, was a great college quarterback, but Sam Hartman is one of the best guys they've had there. Freeman got him to come here for his last season, if you will. He's also got one of the best prospects in the country, and CJ Carr committed after this for next year. So does that mean anything with the transfer portal? I don't know, but I think there's still enough evidence here that he's done a good job bringing in running backs, wide receivers. The recruiting classes for the next couple of years are really strong, better than what Brian Kelly did. Still, the jury's still out, but they're different draft classes or recruiting classes, I can tell you. So anyway, I do not think he's in over his head. Which do you see most likely to happen? Penn State beats both Michigan and Ohio State. Michigan beats both Penn State and OSU, or OSU beats both Penn State and Michigan. I think the last is the most likely to happen. And again, if these teams round robin each other, it's possible an 11-1 Big Ten team doesn't get chosen for the playoff. It's possible. Depending on what happens out in the Pac-12, depending on what happens in the Big 12 and the ACC. You may have if you have an undefeated team come out of somewhere, it's possible one of these Power 5 conferences is going to get left out no matter what. Who's it going to be? Could be the Big Ten this year. Could be the SEC. Could be the SEC because they're not as good. The Pac-12 because they're too good. So anyway, of the teams running the table against the others, I think Ohio State would have the best shot there myself. Is it better for USC to fire Alex Grinch now? Listen, he's not good, Alex Grinch, right? But Lincoln Riley brought him with him from Oklahoma. He believes in him. Firing coordinators, and that doesn't give you a head start, by the way. I mean, they could bring in somebody like Jim Leonard, who's got to step down from defensive coordinator right now at Illinois. He'd be a good selection here, but Lincoln Riley's got his guy you don't get a head start on recruiting and whatnot by changing coordinators in the middle of the year. The only reason to do that would be to have an immediate impact this year. And you're not going to change your whole scheme. So, I don't think you're going to see the kind of impact that you think you would have just firing the defensive line coach. I'm sorry, the defensive coordinator, by the way. Which team, we talked about this before, which team would you rather be? USC kicking off at 9 a.m. Pacific time or against Colorado, or Cincinnati kicking off at 10:15 p.m. Against BYU? I did mistakenly thought this game was at 10 o'clock Saturday. Good thing, because I like BYU a lot. I would have missed my bet. I think this is harder for I think this game is harder for Cincinnati because they're also going 2 time zones west. So I think their clock's going to be messed up a little bit more than USC's. Playing that late, also traveling back in time, I almost said. But I think it's going to be harder for Cincinnati, and I like BYU a lot on Friday night. That'll be one of my wagers if it's available to me. And if not, I'll bet it on DraftKings. If Iowa's offense plays USC's defense, with a black hole engulf the earth. Oh, God. Should we admire how Jake Dickert is shoving in everyone's face the fact that Washington State University, was skipped over in realignment? I think it's good that he has that fire. I think it's good for his team. It's good for Oregon State the same way, to be able to fire those kids up. He took umbrage to something he thought Lee Corso said on ESPN's Game Day. He did not say it. What he said was it was the Left Behind Bowl. And Dickert took it to mean, he was disparaging his team, and that's not what he meant. It was simply a matchup of 2 teams that are left in the Pac-12. And maybe those 2 teams will rebuild it. Washington State's really good. Ward is really good. And if he plays mistake-free football, this team will, if their defense holds up, because they did almost blow this game to Oregon State, but Oregon State's very good. And they've already got a nice win over Wisconsin. So I like this team, and I like the way Lanning, and I like the way that Oregon State's coach's name is escaping me, but Dickert, I like the way they're handling their situations. I like the way Oregon handled the situation with Colorado last week. Lanning didn't give him any bulletin board material, but he still fired his team up, talking about we go for wins, not clicks. Even at halftime, firing his team up, saying we're not done. So I like the way they've handled themselves, and I think they need to keep it going. Rick Sherlock, keep us posted. I will do my best to bring extra money for jewelry. Oh, God. Thank you. I'll try to win some playing Texas Hold'em. And we'll buy jewelry that way. Or it'll cost me twice as much. But I will keep you posted, Rick. Right now, since we have a minute, I think what I'll do is give you a little update on shows. So the next 2 Friday mornings, 8 a.m. No, are you serious? I will this Friday. I'll probably get on with Mac and Jack at 9. I've got to run an errand. First thing in the morning, got to get the cat to the cat hotel for the next 2 weekends. And then I'll do the Major League Baseball update on Friday. Sunday, the next 2 Sundays, we will not be on live at 8:30 most likely, but I will try to come on do the Stream of Consciousness probably from the ship before we sail on next Sunday. We're traveling Saturday. We'll be on the ship early Sunday morning. So I'll try to do the show at some point, maybe 11, 12, before I get into the alcohol too much. Got a big game with the Patriots and Cowboys to watch at 4:30 as well. So I'll keep you abreast of the Sunday games or Sunday shows. This show next week, I will try to get out sometime Wednesday. But I'll post something to keep an eye out. I'll try to post something before I go live. It's hard because I never know when the internet's going to be good or when it's going to be bad. So we'll do the best we can to do it from the high seas, if you will. And, we want to bring you the shows and have some fun, but we want the quality to be at least decent as well. So with that, and by the way, my best wishes and prayers are going out to my good friend Dan Harris out over there in the UK. You stay strong, my friend, and you will always be part of this show. What else? I think with that, we'll sign out. You guys have been very good. Thanks to Rick. Thanks to Anthony, Alan. Who else came on? Brian, thanks for your comment. I know I forgot somebody. Thanks to Jim Beringer from Let's Talk Sports and also FullPressHockey.com. And guys, we'll be back when we can be these next couple of weeks. We'll see you Friday with the Major League Baseball update. And from there, I'll keep it posted. Have a great weekend, guys. Have a great couple of weeks while I'm away.
It could have been worse.
Yeah.
The worst trade they talk about the Herschel Walker trade. Can you imagine Detroit trading Swift to Philadelphia?
Bad boy. Swift is bad.
Swift can play. He had 130 yards. And then A.J. Brown had 131 yards. And then Jalen Hurts, sick, had 277 yards. This will be interesting to see if they can sustain that.
Well, it's the key thing is staying healthy for those guys. But yeah, right now the Philadelphia Eagles, man, they and they play what two of the 3 games on the road.
Yep. And then the Los Angeles Rams lost to Cincinnati.
Yeah, 16-19.
Yeah, and Cincinnati lost. I mean, they saved their season.
Well, the good thing about the Rams is seem like they back kind of competitive and they in the thick of things. They not like last year. Seemed like they lost all their games. Now you got to really play to beat the Rams.
That's true. Now let's talk a little bit about what's coming up this week. We got first game is Detroit against Green Bay at Green Bay.
Is that tomorrow, Thursday night game?
That's tomorrow, Thursday night game.
I like Green Bay at home.
Green Bay is tough to beat at home. And here's the thing: Green Bay doesn't beat itself. That's one thing you notice about them. They're gonna make you beat them. Detroit is physical and they're really good, but that's a hard one. I want to say Detroit, but it's at Green Bay.
It gonna be a good game. But shoot, man, Detroit, man, they play good football though. Detroit.
I'm gonna have to go with Detroit. I like Green Bay, and it wouldn't shock me if they won. But I think Detroit is a little farther. Green Bay should have lost last week
Against the Saints because it was 17-0.
Yeah.
It was the Saints had them 17-0.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Detroit.
Dan.
I haven't been very good on picking games this year.
I think I got you beat on picking games.
I think you do. Everybody's got.
So you go with Detroit.
I saw some little kid at the grocery store. He said, "You can't pick games."
Okay, so you go with Detroit.
I'm
picking the Steelers. I'm picking the Packers.
I'm going with Detroit.
Okay.
Atlanta at Jacksonville.
Dang.
It's in the morning. It's 9:30 in the morning, and it's over at Wembley.
Oh, yeah, they're across the pond?
Yeah, they're across the pond.
Oh yeah, Sunday morning, October 1st. Man, I just love Atlanta the way they look.
I do too. But Jacksonville has played over there, what, the last 3 years? Or
Yeah, they always they've been over there for some reason. So who you taking?
I'm going to go with Jacksonville on this one.
I'm going with Atlanta.
Okay. That's a good one. Miami at Buffalo.
Miami.
At Buffalo.
Oh, you know you go to Buffalo. You know you go. Who you go with, Jeff?
Why you gonna put me in that spot?
Anytime somebody scores 70 points, I think they ain't going to practice this week. They so good. I'm going with Buffalo. I'm going with Buffalo.
I'm going with Buffalo.
I'm going with Buffalo because it's just hard to beat them Bills at home.
Yeah, it is. I've been there. That's a hard
I know
place.
you know firsthand.
Yeah.
I think Miami will lose this week.
Hey, just like Rick said, this is the toilet bowl. Denver at Chicago.
Denver
at Chicago.
Man, can you believe both of them got their butt whooped last week? One 41-10, the other was 70-30.
Yeah.
Dang.
See, the producer Linda was 4-0 last week. Before I make my choices on Sunday, I'm going to talk to her and make sure we're on the same page.
Linda was 4-0 last week.
Yeah, 4-0.
She must have picked the Cardinals.
Yeah, she probably did. Denver at Chicago. I'm going to pick Denver.
I'm going. Chicago got too many problems. I'm going with Denver.
Yeah, I'm going with Denver. I'm scared now because every time I pick a team, oh man, Baltimore at Cleveland. This will be a good game.
I'm going with Cleveland. I don't care. Cleveland at home.
Yeah, but Cleveland does play pretty well at home. But for some reason, I got to go with Baltimore.
All right, you go Baltimore. I'm going with Cleveland.
Cincinnati at Tennessee.
Tennessee looks sad.
Yeah, they do.
And Jamar Chase, man, he looked good last week. And I think Burrow is ready to go. He's warming up. I think he'd be more healthier this week.
You think so?
I'm going with Tennessee.
You going with Tennessee?
No, I'm going with Cincinnati. I'm going with Cincinnati.
I'm going with Cincinnati. I was gonna say, wow.
Well, kind of want to do a little something with Andre Hopkins, but I don't know if he 100%. Shoot.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, he ain't.
Okay, here's one for you: the Los Angeles Rams at Indianapolis.
I just like I like the way the Rams are playing this year. I'm going with the Rams.
Yeah, I kind of like what they're doing. But it depends on who starts. If Richardson starts, I think the Rams are going to win it.
But I tell you now, the coach got the best kicker in the league.
Yeah,
he is on fire. He kicking them field goals like it's like they just routine.
I'm going to go with the Rams.
I'm going with the Rams too.
Tampa Bay at New Orleans. If Carr was playing, I go with New Orleans, but since Winston is playing, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
You going with Tampa? I'm going with the Saints. I had picked the Saints to do. They got
now, Carr won't play. Carr's got a shoulder injury.
I don't care. I'm going with the Saints at home.
Okay. Who that nation? Who that?
Well, the Saints should have beat Green Bay last week.
They should have.
17-0.
Carr was when Carr got injured. It went downhill quick.
Yeah.
So that's the thing you got to remember. But you have your choice. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. Washington at Philadelphia.
Oh, Washington. I ain't going no Commandos. I hate the name.
It's at Philly. Philly got a pretty easy schedule at the beginning of the year, don't they?
They sure do. They
played with Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
That had a winning record, correct?
Yep.
Minnesota doesn't.
Yep.
Who did they play in the first game?
They played the New England Patriots.
Yeah, and New England. Well, New England has a winner, or do they?
Well,
I'll have to look at the standings.
it was 0-0. New England 1-2 right now. Ain't they only won one game.
1-2.
Yeah.
So yes, they only played one team, and that's funny about the NFL. But you could say the Cowboys. Who did they play with a winning record? Nobody yet. So they're 2-1. So it really doesn't matter. I'm gonna go with Philadelphia.
Yeah, I know you are. I already put it down.
And then we had Minnesota.
The Steelers at the Texans, ain't they?
No, the Steelers. Pittsburgh is.
Yeah, at Houston.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm going with Pittsburgh. We didn't go in Minnesota at Carolina.
Okay, Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm going with them, but I'm going with Pittsburgh against Houston.
Okay, you go with Pittsburgh. I'm going with Pittsburgh too. Oh, yeah, I can't go. I can't.
Boy, did you hear what happened with Pittsburgh's airplane? They had to stop
What?
in Kansas City because of something airplane problems, and they didn't get home till really late. And now they got to go to Houston.
Dang.
So there. New England at Dallas. Oh, excuse me. Before that, Las Vegas at the
Raiders.
Chargers.
The Raiders at the Chargers.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Chargers. Well, they Williams is hurt. Their receiver is hurt.
Yeah, but I'm still gonna go with them. I'm still gonna go with the Chargers over.
I just don't know what's going on with the Raiders. They bit. I was just thinking about how.
I think they made a mistake in the coach. He's a good coordinator, but he's a terrible head coach.
Okay. Yeah.
Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, Josh.
So I think he's a terrible head coach. We got.
You said Minnesota playing somebody though, didn't you?
Minnesota playing Carolina.
Okay, Carolina.
At Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going. Minnesota going to win their first game this week.
Yep, I think they will. I think they're. Josh Young is, and I got people. I think Josh Young is going to end up being a lot like Drew Brees. Not a big guy, but he's got a little bit of accuracy. It's just going to take him a little time. And Bryce Young. Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he'll be like him, but it's not going to happen this week. I think Minnesota will win their first game.
Yeah, I think so too.
New England at Dallas. Listen to this stat. This is a little bit makes me a little nervous. Bryce Young is not a bust. He's not a bust. But New England at Dallas. Dallas has not beaten New England at home since 1996. They beat them in Foxborough, but they haven't beat them at home.
Dallas playing at home though, right?
Yeah, they're playing at New England at home.
No, Dallas at home.
Yeah, but I'm telling you that New England has beaten Dallas, and they did have Tom Brady.
I think Dallas will win in the last quarter.
Yes.
I think Ezekiel Elliott would have 180 yards.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, here's the thing that is kind of interesting. Did you know that last week Dallas gave up 17 yards inside the tackles? They gave up all the other yards, 210 yards outside the tackles.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And people talk about Dak like somebody is right now, but you got to understand, San Francisco doesn't have a franchise quarterback. You can say Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. Jalen Hurts is not a franchise quarterback. Herbert is a franchise quarterback. Mahomes is a franchise quarterback. Josh Allen is a franchise quarterback.
Herbert?
Yeah.
Justin Herbert?
I did say Herbert. So you can say what you want, but do you need a franchise quarterback to be really good?
What about Tua?
Tua's becoming a franchise quarterback, but he's got great players around.
He got some.
And Waddle didn't even play last week. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But guess what? He playing this week.
Yeah.
Because I saw him today in practice. He was out there practicing today.
Yeah.
And he was waddling. He said, I want you to do the waddle tonight.
Wow. Brock Purdy doesn't throw interceptions because of their system. They're a running team. They are a true power running team. They're going to run you. And then they don't ever put him in situations because he has obviously Debo Sanders, Brandon Ayuk, and
Brandon Ayuk, is he playing? Is he back off the injury list?
Yeah, he'll be back. But Kittle, and the thing you got to understand about what they do is he gets released. I was looking at it. His release is one of the fastest in the NFL. He doesn't hold the ball. So that's why he doesn't throw interceptions, but he throws it to a spot.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, it's hard to guard those guys, and you still got to worry about McCaffrey.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But, he's not a franchise quarterback. And then Hurts has probably some problems with interceptions, but that defense is so dominating right now that it's difficult. They can make up for some of his mistakes. And then Swift running so well.
Swift looked good.
Yeah.
He looked good.
But who did you pick out of New England and Dallas?
I picked Dallas.
Yeah. I think
I just think Dallas had an off week, and I think this is they go get their focus back, and I just think it's gonna be hard for New England to beat them here at home.
Yeah. How about Arizona at San Francisco?
Oh, the 49ers.
Yeah, I would have to go with the 49ers.
I just don't see nobody beating the 49ers right now.
Yeah.
But the Cardinals have been playing good.
They have. But I think they're gonna come back to earth this week.
Well, the 49ers are gonna beat them by 20 points.
Yeah, I think the 49ers will beat them pretty good. Woo!
Did we talk about the Chiefs and the Jets?
That's what we were about to talk about. That's the night game.
What's the night game?
At New York.
I sure want to take the Jets. I want to take the Jets, but I'm not going to take the Jets.
Oh, man, that's a tough game. And I'm like you. I don't want to take the Jets because I think Zach Wilson might be a bust.
Man, I really wanted the Jets to win this year. I really did.
Yeah, I did too.
Because they beat us in preseason. They beat the Giants in preseason. And I was just saying, well, maybe they can do something pretty good this year, but not so.
I think Zach Taylor.
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson has really struggled. He's lost all confidence.
Everybody is talking about Zach Wilson. It's the quarterback. It's this. He just is something that he's not doing, not able to do.
And I think he doesn't have a strong enough running game and a strong enough offensive line. And that's a big issue. The offensive line is not very good. And that's the thing that happens with the New York Giants is too.
And just think about this. When Dalvin Cook signed with the Jets, that put them over the top.
Yeah.
Put them over the top. But not so fast.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So I'm going with Kansas City. I think Kansas City will win this game.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, the prime Monday Night Football, the Seattle Seahawks at New York Giants. I am going to go against the grain.
What you mean against the grain? It's a no-brainer, Jim. What you talking about?
It is a no-brainer. Seattle's going to win. No.
I'm going with the Giants, man. Are you crazy?
Here's the problem with the Giants.
Ain't no problem.
No, listen to me. First of all, Saquon is not going to probably play because of the ankle injury.
He might play.
I think the problem that is with the Giants is their defense is got some outstanding players, but my thing is they take too many. They put those young quarterbacks in no-win situations. And I mean, you're going to get some pretty good receivers. So I'm gonna go with Seattle on this.
Well, this is the deal. Seahawks got to fly all the way to the East
Yeah, that's
Coast.
a long way.
And guess what? The Giants gonna blow their mind. We're gonna have a good game. This is our turning point for the season. If the Giants win this game against Seahawks, they will make the wild card.
Yeah, that is true. I would agree.
But I just think they got to play a perfect game. And some of the receivers got to step up. Daniel Jones got to have his best game. And you know what? Trayvon Thibodeau, they talking about sending him out of there. They ready to get him out of there because he ain't done nothing.
I know, but I understand, and I can't.
Well, you can't be a fifth pick in the first round.
Yeah.
And not have number 1 and 2 sacks in 2 years.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, they got to win this game. They got to win this game.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Cowboys. They got San Francisco and Philly after this win. This is a must win. So yeah.
Well, this is going to be the nut and bolt, meat and potatoes of the season right here.
You're
We're
right.
gonna see who's gonna be able to eat, or we're gonna see who's going out to the pasture.
You're right. You're right. So yeah, I'm gonna pick Seattle to win it.
Okay, yeah, I got the Giants.
I'm gonna have to pick them.
I think this is a game that they have an alumni being there this week.
Oh, okay. Okay. Couple things. This is what's interesting. Robert Salio said the players are okay with Aaron Rodgers calling them out for the Jets. He was saying that they got to grow up. Well, here's the thing to me isn't that the head coach's responsibility? A player shouldn't have to call them out. I'm just asking.
You're right.
And now when I played, we were accountable. We call each other out in private.
And I think that's the problem with the day players. They want to put stuff in the media. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, we had the locker room talk.
Yeah, we did it in the locker room. You didn't know what was going on, but everything is.
We had like
video
we had George Morton, Harry Carson, Phil Simms. Those guys, we huddled up and we talked about things that we need to do inside these locker rooms.
Exactly, and it didn't get out of the locker room.
Yeah,
so that's the thing. But that's a concern of mine.
I saw that comment. They said that what Aaron Rodgers said, and I think that's when you're not going to be a part of the team for the rest of the season. Say something positive throughout every day.
That's not negative. He's right. They do have to grow up. I mean, you got a third-team running back arguing with the running back coach. What kind of junk is that? He should have been gone on Monday.
Yeah. That's true. That's where the hierarchy of the team and the structure of the team done lost its taste. I mean, you don't do that. That's something that it's out of respect. First of all, football is a game that you have to earn respect.
Yeah.
And for that to happen, things are out of order. So now you're pointing fingers at
it's what's happening is everybody's going like this instead of like this.
Yeah, looking at yourself first, and then
you gotta look at yourself because Dan Quinn said an interesting thing. He said, and it was the safety, Javon Curse, Deron Bland, and DeMarcus Lawrence played winning football. He said nobody else. But then I see in the paper, Micah Parsons is in an argument with Tyreek Hill. We are not playing Tyreek Hill this week over who should have the name Cheetah. I thought this was ridiculous. What you better be worried about is the New England Patriots and what Zeke Elliott is going to do to you.
And that's what they need to worry about because Zeke going to be up in their chest.
Yep.
He got something to prove.
Yep.
It's good when a player has something to prove to the team that just let them go.
That's right. And when I played at Buffalo, we beat Dallas the year they won the Super Bowl in Buffalo. And I had the play at the end of the game that caused the interception to win the game.
Yeah.
You want to prove that they made a mistake.
I had my best game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's
I had
right.
169 yards. I mean, it's the next time they saw me, they said that damn Byron Williams, you know. But my point is, whenever the guy got a chip on his chest right now.
Yeah.
So they better be ready for Zeke.
He had 80 yards last week.
He warming up.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. So that's what they need to be worried about. I mean,
And you know, and plus, you know, Belichick, he's a strategist. You ain't gonna
what's
just
the
go
first
out
thing
there.
he's going to do in the game? He's going to tell them they got to take out CeeDee Lamb. He's going to tell them they got to take out Tony Pollard. And now Gallup, Jalen, is it Tolbert?
Brandon Cook,
all these guys, and then Rico Dow, they're going to have to play well.
Right.
Yeah, and he's going to look in there and say, fellas, we can run on them. They gave up 227 yards last week.
Yeah.
We can run on them. And like I said, I'm not knocking James Conner, but he's going to say, hey, we got backs good as James Conner.
And another thing, too, New England defense always play ready.
Yep, they play
the linebackers,
especially in the red zone.
Judon, he ain't no joke.
No, especially in the red zone. You got a good point there.
But you know, I was just looking at what the Cowboys how they played in the fourth quarter. It was
mind blowing.
It blew my mind.
They're huddling up. They ain't even trying to hurry.
What a hurry up offense at?
Yeah, that's what I said.
And then Zeke is forcing the ball inside the red zone. And trying to throw it between three guys, three defenders.
You're right.
I ain't never seen nothing like that.
Yeah, you're right though. I can't argue with you.
And then another thing too, and this just me. You know, Pollard is great at catching the ball out the backfield. Throw the ball to him inside. Throw the ball to him.
Or that fullback. That fullback was wide open on that play.
Exactly. Right. So you have other options. And then another thing with Zeke, and this is what I'm going to tell you. Zeke is not looking the guys off.
No.
Dak. I mean, Zach. Yeah, Dak is not looking the guys off. Yeah. He's not looking them off. So that was my viewpoint on that game.
Yeah. So a couple other things. Carr said if he can play, he's going to play, but it doesn't look like he's going to play.
No.
In New Orleans. Eckler practiced, but he said he's not 100%. Aaron Eckler.
But I think he said he won't. He probably going to be ready to play though.
Yeah. Bryce Young is on the track to start versus the Vikings. So we both went with the Vikings. Rick. The Vikings got it this week. Rick
ain't saying too much this week because he's been talking.
He did.
But he was saying he thought the Vikings done won the game by now. They 0-3. Are they 0-3, Jim? Oh, the Vikings 0-3.
0-3.
That's what I'm saying. My boy Alfred Addison, he ain't calling me. He left the golf tournament Monday.
No, before it even started.
He probably been playing golf. He left the golf tournament crying. How do you cry when your team is 0-3? Damn. What's going on around here?
You gotta laugh, not to cry.
We're gonna be 2-2 after this week, so we'll be 2-2.
Yeah. Zeke expects some emotion, obviously, with the Cowboys, which they're gonna do something for him there at the stadium. I don't know what to do.
He done a good job for them, and he been their bread and butter for last 6 years or so.
Yeah. Here's what interesting one. Jadeveon Clowney, he plays for the Ravens. He's the guy that made his career basically off of one hit, and when he was in college at South Carolina,
Right.
said there's no bad blood with the Browns. But Jadeveon Clowney is, when you talk about Thibodeau, this guy has been basically a bust. He had one good season. And other than that, he hasn't showed up. Rick ain't having it. Rick ain't having it.
I'm just saying.
We both picked the Vikings.
I'm looking for the Vikings to win their first game, Rick. You ought to be happy about that. Jack can't handle me. Only in boxing. Only he can handle me only in boxing.
Oh, shoot. And I got to deal with Keith Ingle on Sunday, too, because he's a huge Patriots fan. But the Patriots, they haven't scored that many points this year.
No,
so that might play into the Cowboys' hand. But Jadeveon Clowney, he hasn't been what they thought he'd be.
Yeah, he been a bust.
I don't think the Browns are too worried about him. I don't think the Browns.
Well, and plus he'll take himself out of the game. I think too. He ain't gonna show up.
If I pick the Ravens, I think I'm gonna go with the Browns.
Yeah,
Browns are. So I think I picked the Ravens. I'm gonna go with the Browns.
Yeah, Myles Garrett got the game ball.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna call it that.
The game against Pittsburgh.
I'm gonna call it that this week. I'm gonna see if I can get him on the show and talk about Myles.
And his dad heard me saying that, and he came, "Hey, Jeff Coach said that you had no tackles and no sacks against Pittsburgh."
Yeah, and evidently he must have told him. He told him, Jim.
Yeah, he showed up. So, and congratulations, Myles. I always like you. The Rams hope that Cooper Kupp is healthy to play against the Eagles. And
well, I hope so. That'll be a good game. That might. I'm looking for the Eagles to lose their first game pretty soon. The next 2 to 3 weeks.
You think so?
That's what I'm looking.
They're pretty healthy in their fronts, though. Their offensive line has been healthy. Although Lance Jackson does get away with starting early. I saw it with my own eyes. There he goes. He came out of nowhere. Keith heard me.
Hey,
Keith, I'll be in the stadium.
Hey, y'all get that ball to Zeke this weekend. You might win your game.
Keith, I'm gonna be in my seats. I'm on the 50-yard line. I'm gonna be talking.
I'm looking for the Pats to win 2 games in a row.
Keith, it ain't happening this week. Sorry, buddy. I have a lot of respect for you.
I might try to call Belichick. I might come to call Belichick. See if he let me stand on the sideline.
Keith, how many points have the Patriots scored in one game? They haven't scored a lot of points this year. So
they haven't scored that much.
And then we already talked about Keith's favorite player, Matt Jones, hitting Sauce Gardner, trying to take his kids away from him and stuff. But
interesting.
But and then hot seat. There are some coaches already on the hot seat. Can you imagine? I tell you what, people, if Mike McCarthy loses this game, he's gonna be in the hot seat.
Well, he ought to be in the hot seat losing to the Cardinals. Shoot.
Yeah, and that's why. I think he's got there's a little bit of issues. And I didn't think, I noticed that. Great defense, but they haven't scored a lot of points.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure you said that, not me, Keith. But obviously Matt Eberflus of Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago. Yeah.
He's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
I think they paid McDaniels too much money, but he would be on the hot seat.
He's definitely on the hot seat. The Raiders. Whew.
Kevin Stefanski came off of back-to-back losing seasons with Cleveland. He got a win. But I think the people, quiet as it kept, I really believe that McCartney and Dad are both on the hot seat. But hey, we'll talk about a little bit more. We're almost done. We got to waddle out of here. Watch the Bills beat Miami.
Man, I can't believe that y'all let Miami score 70 points last week, Denver. What's wrong with y'all?
All right.
But you know, you will have to wait behind Jack.
Hey, you guys have a good evening. It's our time. We got to get out.